The door slammed so loudly that even the neighbor's dog began barking, but Emma didn't flinch. She stood frozen on the porch, rain starting to soak through her blouse, mascara slowly trailing down her cheeks, yet her eyes were dry now, emptied of tears. Not because she wasn't broken, not because the pain wasn't sharp and humiliating, but because something else inside her had clicked into place the very moment her husband shoved her out and hissed, "Get out of my house." The house she had paid for. The house she had cleaned, maintained, and held together while he spent more and more late nights at work. She never expected this moment to come, not like this. She imagined if she ever caught him cheating, he would stutter, stammer, try to lie, maybe fall to his knees and beg. But reality was crueler, stranger, and, in a sick way, almost funny. Because instead of apologizing or denying, he blamed her. He shoved her out the door, claimed she had no right going through his phone, and then, like she was the criminal here, he kicked her out of her own home with the same hands that once held her on drunken nights, whispering that she was the best thing that ever happened to him. But as she stood there under the rain, something inside her that had been asleep for years suddenly woke. An old memory she had locked away. A fact she had forgotten. A detail she once thought insignificant, until now. And with that memory came a plan. Not a hysterical plan. Not a heartbroken plan. A cold, surgical, razor-edged plan. But the road to that plan started hours earlier, long before the rain, long before the slammed door, long before her husband revealed who he truly was. The day had begun like any other. Emma, exhausted from a night of little sleep, brewed coffee and packed her husband's lunch. She had been doing it for 7 years. She folded his shirts while humming a song she half remembered from childhood, made the bed, opened windows to let fresh air in, little rituals that had once brought her peace. Her phone buzzed. A routine appointment reminder. Dentist. She sighed, grabbed her purse, and prepared to leave when something unexpected happened. Tom's jacket fell from the hanger. She bent down to pick it up, and that's when she felt it, rigid paper inside the inner pocket. She froze. Tom wasn't the type to carry paper, he was digital everything, notes, reminders, lists. Curious, she pulled the paper out. It was a receipt. A pregnancy test. Purchased at a pharmacy across town. At 1:14 a.m. But it wasn't the test that made her stomach drop, it was the payment method. His card. And the fact that last night, he never came home. Her fingers trembled, but she forced herself to breathe. Maybe it wasn't what she thought. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe. Her phone buzzed again. A message. She glanced at it, and her world cracked. A pop-up from Tom's phone account, which they shared for billing. A preview of a message that synced across the devices. She hadn't even realized it still did that. But now she was staring at it, heart pounding. "Babe, I took the test. It's positive. I'm shaking. Come back soon." Emma felt something cold and heavy drop inside her chest. She opened the synced messages fully, telling herself she needed proof, clarity, something more than a preview. The chat unfolded in front of her like something from a stranger's life. Not hers. Not the life she had built. Not the marriage she had sacrificed everything for. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the couch, phone in hand, eyes moving over every message like razor blades. He had written things to this woman, this Anna, things he hadn't told Emma for years. Compliments. Promises. Their future. Their child. Their child. Emma's vision blurred for a moment, but not with tears, no, they had dried up too quickly, replaced by a numb, suffocating burn. She didn't know how long she sat there. Could have been minutes. Could have been an hour. But time returned when she heard his car pulling into the driveway. She should have hidden the phone. She should have pretended ignorance. She should have acted stunned or innocent or outraged when confronting him. Instead, she stood calmly, the phone in her hand, as he walked into the living room smelling of cheap perfume and panic. He saw her. He froze. His face drained of color. And she said only 4 words. "Who is she, Tom?" He didn't answer at first. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. He stuttered, fumbled, guilt crawling all over his skin like insects under his collar. She watched him closely, waiting for something, anything, that resembled remorse. It never came. Instead, he lunged for the phone. "Give me that." But Emma tightened her grip. Years of pent-up frustration, betrayal, loneliness, all condensed into her spine as she stood firm. "No." He grabbed her wrist. Hard. Harder than he ever had. She tried to pull away, but he wasn't focused on her pain, he was only focused on covering his own guilt. The betrayal stung, but the sudden violence scorched. He snatched the phone from her hand with a force that left her joints aching. "You had no right," he barked. "You went through my private messages?" Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. She stared at him, waiting for an apology, a confession, even a pathetic lie. But instead, he shoved her toward the door. "You know what? Get out. Get out of my house until you cool off." "My house," she whispered. "I paid the down payment. My name is first on the deed." That's when something in him snapped. Or maybe it was always broken. He opened the door, grabbed her arm, dragged her outside, and slammed it in her face. He locked it. Locked her out. Without shoes. Without her phone. Without letting her speak. "Come back when you're not acting crazy," he yelled through the door. Rain began to fall. The cold drops felt like needles on her bare skin. The night swallowed her in silence so thick it felt like drowning. She stood there motionless, her mind spiraling between heartbreak and disbelief, until something flashed through her memory like a bolt of lightning. A forgotten detail. A contract. A clause in their mortgage agreement. A specific agreement Tom made her sign years ago, thinking he was protecting himself, but really, it protected her. She had forgotten about it completely until this very moment. But now, as she stood outside of the home she had paid for, drenched in rain and humiliation, the memory sharpened into perfect clarity. And with it came an opportunity. No, you could call it destiny. Emma wiped her face, straightened her posture, and whispered to herself. He has no idea what he just did. And with that, she walked away from the porch, from the rain, from the broken illusions of marriage, straight toward her revenge. Not the kind born of rage, but the kind born of justice. Sharp. Precise. And devastating. Emma didn't go far that night. Instead of wandering aimlessly, she walked straight to her car parked down the street, unlocked it, sat inside, and let the silence of the vehicle wrap around her. The rain pattered against the windshield, rhythmic and almost soothing, like the world was washing away her hesitation. She didn't start the engine. Not yet. She sat still, letting the pieces of her plan rearrange themselves. That clause in their mortgage agreement, it was rare, unusual, even unnecessary at the time. But Tom insisted on it years ago because he didn't trust her lack of financial discipline, as he had so arrogantly put it back then. He convinced her to sign an addendum beneath the primary agreement. A clause stating that since she paid the down payment entirely from her own inheritance, and since their incomes were drastically different, the property legally defaulted to her ownership if the marriage dissolved due to marital misconduct. And adultery counted. At the time, she thought the clause was symbolic. A reassurance. A mutual agreement that trust mattered. Funny how symbols become weapons when the truth surfaces. Her hands steadied as she finally turned the key, the engine humming to life. She drove, not to a hotel or a friend's house, but straight to the one person she never expected to contact again, the lawyer who had handled her inheritance years ago. A no-nonsense woman named Linda who could smell deception a mile away. When Emma stepped into Linda's small office, still damp from the rain, hair dripping and clothes clinging to her, Linda didn't react with shock or sympathy. She simply raised one eyebrow and said, Who do I need to destroy? Emma exhaled for the first time properly that night. My husband. I figured. Sit. Emma sat. And then, shaking, she told her everything. Not crying, not screaming, just recounting, word for word, what happened. Linda listened without interruption. When Emma finished, the lawyer opened the file drawer behind her and pulled out a thin folder. Old. Yellowed slightly. Your mortgage agreement, Linda said. And the clause you forgot about. Emma's breath hitched. Linda laid the paper out on her desk, tapping the signature line. He insisted on this clause. Arrogant men love controlling paperwork until it works against them. So, can I claim the house? Emma whispered. Linda smiled, a slow, wolfish smile that promised justice. You don't claim it, she said. You already own it. He just doesn't know he signed away the right to fight for it. Emma blinked. You mean? You can legally evict him. The world stopped spinning. The rain, the humiliation, the shove out the door, all melted away under the heat of those words. But that wasn't enough. Not for what he did. Not for dragging her outside, not for cheating on her, not for blaming her for finding out. Emma swallowed. What about his girlfriend? She's pregnant. Linda leaned back in her chair, her expression hardening. If the child is his, he's legally responsible. That means financial responsibility. Considering his income and yours, a court will prioritize your financial stability. You'll get the house. He'll get a child support order. And if she thought she won the lottery, she's about to learn the jackpot comes with a bill. Emma's pulse quickened. For the first time all night, she felt something warm spreading through her chest, not anger, not bitterness, but power. Pure and unfamiliar. So, what do I need to do? She asked. Linda chuckled. Go home. Pack his things. Change the locks. And tomorrow morning, come back for the official documents. Emma left the office feeling lighter, like the air around her shifted. She drove back toward the house, rain still tapping against the roof, but now it sounded like applause. When she arrived, she sat in her car for a few seconds, staring at the windows glowing with warm light. He was inside, of course. Probably pacing, waiting, rehearsing excuses, or maybe even with the girlfriend already. He had no idea, none at all, that the balance of power had shifted completely. Emma walked up the driveway. Quiet. Calm. She used her key to enter, and there he was, standing in the living room with a towel around his waist, hair wet, like he'd just stepped out of the shower. He jumped the moment he saw her. Emma? Where the hell did you go? Do you realize how crazy you acted? I had to change the locks. She stepped inside, ignoring his words. Every syllable he threw at her only made her stronger, not weaker. She walked past him as if he were a stranger. Hey, he snapped. I'm talking to you. Emma turned, finally meeting his eyes. The shock of seeing her calm, composed expression made him falter. I'm not here to fight, she said. I'm here to pack your things. He blinked. My things? Why? Because you don't live here anymore. He snorted. Actually snorted. Excuse me? You're throwing me out of my own house. Our house, she corrected. And legally, as of tomorrow, it will only be mine. Confusion flickered across his face. Then anger. Then panic. What the hell are you talking about? She opened her purse, pulled out a photocopy Linda had given her. This clause, she said softly. The one you insisted on. He grabbed the paper, skimming it, his face draining of color. His lips parted as the meaning hit him, as the realization clawed its way through his arrogance. No. No, that's not, Emma, come on, that was years ago. I didn't mean. But you signed it, she said calmly. And you broke the marriage through marital misconduct. It's all documented. He swallowed. You can't be serious. Emma, look, let's talk. I messed up, okay? I know I messed up, but you can't throw away everything because of one mistake. One mistake, she repeated, her voice flat. You dragged me out of the house in the rain. You locked the door. You screamed at me. You cheated on me. You're having a baby with someone else. He flinched. Emma turned away from him, walking toward the bedroom. She opened the closet and began pulling his shirts off the hangers. One by one. Calm. Precise. Efficient. Stop, he begged, following her. Let's talk. Please. She didn't. She didn't need to. His pleading meant nothing now. Years of manipulation, dismissal, emotional neglect, each shirt she threw into the suitcase erased another memory. At some point, he sank to the floor, running both hands through his hair. I messed up, he whispered. I didn't think you'd leave. Emma paused, looking down at him. This broken version of the man she married. Not broken from guilt. Broken from losing control. You didn't think I'd ever stand up for myself, she said. That's the real problem. She zipped the suitcase closed. Leave. He stood slowly, eyes glistening, not with sincerity, but with fear. Fear of losing comfort. Stability. The house. His life as he knew it. Where will I go? He whispered. She met his eyes with the coldest stare he had ever seen from her. To her, she said simply. To the woman who's carrying your child. He looked like she had slapped him. Emma handed him the suitcase, walked him to the door, and opened it. Rain was pouring again. A fitting symmetry. She didn't push him. She didn't need to. He stepped out slowly, turning back once, hoping for mercy, for softness, for the version of Emma who tolerated everything. But she wasn't there anymore. Emma closed the door. And locked it. The next morning, she signed the documents officially granting her full ownership of the house. Linda filed the paperwork for eviction and marital dissolution due to infidelity. Tom received notice by noon. By evening, his girlfriend called Emma in tears, not for sympathy, but because Tom had told her she ruined his life. Emma smiled at the irony. She didn't ruin anything. He had done that himself. All she did, was remember the one detail he forgot. And she used it to take back everything he tried to steal from her, her dignity, her home, her future. Emma didn't just get revenge. She reclaimed her life.